So last year I actually was given through the Penguins Foundation a virtual reality camera which captures 360-degree video. And in working with that and having the students kind of do some projects with that particular camera, I thought, wouldn't it be really cool to bring some of this technology to other students in the school and other students in the district and give them some experiences that they may never ever get to see being in Murraysville. So I actually went to a workshop and was introduced to something called Google Expeditions, and it's an amazing software program. It's an app actually that you can get on your phone for free, and it gives teachers the ability to guide students in their classes on these virtual tours through the use of VR goggles. So what I decided to do is I thought it was way too cool to keep to myself, so I decided to make a cart full of goggles that teachers can borrow to use with their students. So I created this cart of 30 different pairs of VR goggles, and each pair of goggles actually allows students to put their phones inside, and then once they close them up, they can place them on their head. And the teachers are able to actually guide each particular student in the class and show them what they want them to see on a virtual tour. So teachers have done tours of World War II sites or the Vietnam Wall. We had some teachers interested in maybe showing the space exploration. There are so many different options for teachers to do, and it's just another fun experience for students and a chance for them to see something that they may never get to see. So I just think it's a really cool thing.
We've been trying for the past half a dozen years to plan a trip to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. And we've gathered funds, we worked through PTO once, but it just has always fallen through. We have always, 10th grade teachers have visited the Holocaust Museum, and we're teaching the book night. We thought of no better way to kind of line this up, but when Mrs. Magnus talked about the idea of using the goggles, and there is a reality room in terms of the Holocaust Museum, we thought it was a great thing for our sophomores to do. So when we went through it, I was pleased at the different stations that we've talked about at night, that we can stop using the goggles and say, okay, look here, let's answer some questions, let's talk about what's important, what do you see, can you connect any of the visuals in the museum with what we're looking at night in terms of themes, and then we're able to pace through a lesson and be able to go through the museum and see different things that we want them to see visually. I did enjoy the ability to be able to skip through certain sections that we hadn't got to the book at that point, but I could go back and revisit if I want to. So in terms of what the kids enjoyed, they talked the next day extensively about how neat it was to be sitting in a chair in Murraysville and accessing something in Washington, D.C., simultaneously. It was just an amazing experience. It was amazing for me too, because that was my first round with the goggles myself, so it was just a neat thing to see the kids do, and I enjoyed it myself.
I took my Spanish 3 students on a virtual field trip to Spain. We saw 5 to 7 cities depending on the size of the class, and different sites within those cities, and then they were able to discuss in Spanish what they saw, what they visited. I think it was cool for students to feel like they were there. A lot of students will never get to travel to Spain. As much as we may recommend that, it's just unrealistic for some kids. So they were able to see what they would see if they were really there, and it's more engaging for them. When I'm asking them to describe places in Spain, it can feel flat when we're just talking about things on paper or seeing pictures, but when they were immersed in it, they were so excited, and they felt that they were there and got a lot of good conversations from them. So when students put the goggles on, they have a 360 view of the area around them. So it's much more than just seeing a picture. They can look up, they can look all around, and then I can guide them and zoom into other destinations. I felt that all my students were engaged to some degree in this, even students who admittedly hate Spanish or it's not something they plan on continuing. They were all in that day. It was every ability level, every learner was having a blast. I wish I could do something like this every day.
So in my Spanish class, we used Google Expeditions to go into VR and go to major landmarks in cities and like be in the city without actually leaving the classroom. A plane ticket to go to Spain is a lot more expensive than VR goggles in public school. And it was really neat because you could obviously just look up images just on a computer and you could see it, but you're not actually seeing it, rather than seeing images but all the way around you, so you could turn around and there'd still be something there. We went to this one city. There was a lot of art and like on the bridges and such, and you could just stand there and you can look and see the whole city skyline. It was really, really cool.
So the juniors in American Studies were able to have a virtual experience centered around World War I. We were talking about trench warfare and gas attacks, and they also had the opportunity to experience a dogfight with airplanes. It was the first military combat scenario where airplanes were used. So the students had the opportunity to experience things that, one, they wouldn't be able to do, in general, but these are things that really can't be replicated. It's not really something you take a field trip to or that you're able to see. It's sort of like living in a video game, only it's educational and historically it's accurate. So the content material that was in the Expeditions app was also very accurate, gave a script for the teachers to read. It tied back to exactly what the students had learned in class, and it sort of gave a visual for what the students could not really see just reading a textbook or just listening to me lecture in class. The students really enjoyed it, and that was the best part. They were sort of oohing and aahing, especially when we got to the part with the airplanes, because you were seated in the airplane. It wasn't like they were watching it from the ground. They also had the opportunity too, with the gas attack, to experience what it was like as a soldier putting the mask on, as the fumes were coming towards them, and this was something we had talked about at length in class, and they really, really enjoyed it.
Another really cool thing you can do with Google Expeditions is something called augmented reality, which is a little different than virtual reality. Augmented reality means you're actually augmenting or changing your environment or your reality that's surrounding you. So Google Expeditions has several augmented reality sites that teachers can visit and allow their students to be involved with. And the difference is you don't use the goggles for that. It's just using the students' cell phones, which is actually a really cool thing because most students have a phone at this point. But what you do is you set these sort of markers around your classroom, and then you use your phone, and your phone will actually scan the marker, and then things will actually pop up in your own reality. One of the examples I like to show everyone, because it's just kind of a cool one, is a dinosaur lesson. And there's an actual dinosaur that will appear on your table or anywhere where you have this marker. So imagine, having these around your room, and students can walk around and actually have things appear that aren't really there. It's just another cool way for students to learn about different things.